Ladies and gentlemen, today we are diving into the mailbag. But before we do so, we got to talk about Billy Donovan. I believe Billy Donovan is on a scorching hot seat. I'm going to go ahead and talk about that. And let you know, you got to hear the music first.
Cognac. Gang.
Shy Boys Podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down on another episode of Shy Boys Podcast with me and my co-host C-Dub. If you like what you're listening to today, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. So every time we drop, you'll be one of the first ones to know. Now, we know the state of the Chicago Bulls. We know it's been a lot of talk about, hey, we should just go ahead and tear everything down from the studs, rip the studs out, and just start over fresh. The problem is, I don't believe the Chicago Bulls should go into the rebuild with head coach Billy Donovan. If you do elect to go into rebuild mode, I don't trust that he is the right guy to get the job done from his entire tenure in OKC until his tenure thus far with the Chicago Bulls. Billy Donovan's head coaching seat is hot. And I want to talk about a few reasons why before we get into the mailbag. The players have completely given up on Billy Donovan. That's just from what I see from the outside looking in. We looking at certain situations to where these guys are not playing for him. They're not playing for each other. And everything right now is just bad. The bad body language is always present on the floor. We've seen multiple possessions to where you got players waving off each other. You got players to where they don't communicate on defense. No one's getting back. Every single game the Chicago Bulls play, there are several plays of the opposing team back cutting the hell out of the Chicago Bulls for the lack of defensive communication that these guys come out and put on the court. Every game. And the only way right now the Chicago Bulls can seem as if they can win a game is if they try to have this crazy comeback. You're not winning basketball games that way. You want to continue to come out in the first quarter and be lackadaisical, look unprepared, look like you're not up for the challenge, look like you're not playing for one another, look like you're not trying to play for the city of Chicago. That's what we've been seeing from the Chicago Bulls. And if you're looking on paper, you see that the Chicago Bulls look actually better than what they looked last year. This team is worse than that. How? With the expectations that everybody has been placed out there. Everybody came into this season keeping it a buck. This might be our last dance. We know we got to make sure something happens. We know we got to do this. We know we got to do that. But yet, they still came out and did none of it. Why? That blame goes to the players. Most of that blame goes to your head coach. I believe he has lost the voice of his locker room. Once you lose your locker room as a head coach, you're done. Fried turkey, barbecue chicken, seafood gumbo. Should I name more foods and start to get hungry? You feel me? But nonetheless, the offense is bad for the Chicago Bulls. We talked about all these different things that they were going to try to do this season, and they still rank at the bottom of the league in most categories. The defense, something that we was going to be able to hang our hats on, is not present whatsoever. It's not present whatsoever. If you look at Billy Donovan and what he was able to do when he came in, you was like, okay, maybe. But man, did that turn sour quick. It turned sour quick for Billy Donovan. I don't believe his offense is innovative. I believe he's not holding players accountable. Like, I'm all for the want and the need to bring in a guy that's a player's coach. You want to have your players play for you as a coach. But what separates the good from the great coaches is, though that coach can be for his players, he holds them accountable. He holds them accountable. I don't believe Billy Donovan is holding the Chicago Bulls players accountable. For the simple fact, and I also think that Billy Donovan and the front office, they made a huge mistake. They put a bunch of stock into Nikola Vucevic on bringing him back, the need to want to bring him back. And at the table, he said, I want more touches. And you seen in multiple games that the Bulls are starting the games off by trying to get Nikola Vucevic started and keep him going and keep him engaged. But he ain't did a thing. He ain't did jack shit in those opportunities. Missing easy, quick pop shots or whatever you want to call them. Not taking advantage of mismatches. Not being able to do certain things and be able to evaluate and, elevate himself. But, hey, and then the last part for all this is that this thing could get uglier, y'all. It's been ugly right now. This can get uglier. Fucking ugly. Keep it a grand with you. Just looking at the next 10 games starting tonight. We got the Brooklyn Nets, the Boston Celtics, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Pelicans, Milwaukee again, Denver, Miami twice, the Sixers, the Los Angeles Lakers. This can get ugly soon as tonight. They already lost 3 in a row. How long will this go on? You want to see them pull together, but we just got to wait and see. But enough for me talking. I know I ran my mouth a little bit too long, but hey, now we're going to have to get into these voicemail bags by the people who called in and supporting the show. Today, I want to kick this thing off by showing some love to Ricky Curl. Here it is.
What's up, Bobby? It's Ricky Carroll. I called last week, but I was kind of stumbling because I didn't want to say what I really wanted to say. Well, what I got to say is about Billy. I've been complaining about Billy. I've been telling people about Billy for a couple of years, man. It doesn't matter who the Bulls bring in. They're not going to win with Billy. Okay? And I don't understand. Vukovic, man, if you watch the last 5 games, he has no respect in the paint. They go to the basket on him. And you know why it happens so much? Because Billy don't say anything. Question. Would you hurt yourself for Billy? Would you dive on the floor and let people dive on top of you and hit you on the head and everything and look for your coach to stand up for you? I don't know if you've ever played some competitive basketball. When your coach don't stand up for you, it bothers you. I don't care who it is. So they're not gonna fight for Billy. Their team has lost its way. If you look at the Toronto games, they ain't diving for balls. They ain't trying to run out of balls and get any. I don't blame them. Billy's the problem, and I don't care who they bring in there. He's going to be the problem. And Mark DeRozan fell out of his game now, trying to play something or be somebody he's not. He done lost it. He'll get it back, though, because he's a Hall of Famer. Well, that's pretty much all I want to say about that. Tell me what you think. Peace.
Well, thanks for calling in, Ricky Kerr. I appreciate that. But, man, on to the point. Alex Caruso is probably the only player that's been injuring himself, diving on the floor, trying to play extra hard. You know what I'm saying? At least to that extent. I'm going to say that it's going to be – I believe there are some players that are playing hard, but I believe when you have so many players that are not playing hard, it messes up everything. Because if you want to be a good, solid basketball team, you know that chemistry is one thing, cohesion is another thing, defensive communication, offensive continuity is important, things like that. And right now, you're seeing a team whose sole purpose is we need Zach to be good, we need DeMar to be good, we need Vooch to add in and be good. The problem is, ain't none of them playing really good. Let's keep it a buck. Ain't none of them really playing good. So what is it going to look like? That stuff right there, especially from your stars, is going to overshadow a lot of things to what the younger players are trying to do. I believe Ayo Dosunmu was having a solid season, but it's getting overshadowed because the big three sucks. Kobe White, I believe he's been performing absolutely well. Can he take step forwards? Absolutely, yeah. But I think that's for what we expected to what he's given right now, that's a success. But it's going to get overshadowed because the big three stink. What about the player Andre Drummond on most nights? It's going to get overshadowed because he stinks. What about the small spurts from Javon Carter? I think he's been all right. You know what I'm saying? Not to the consistency of what we should expect, you know what I'm saying, because of the hype that he came in with. But he's a role player coming off the bench, not even seeing a lot of action on most nights as of recently. But we seen the Chicago Bulls in the last game against the Toronto Raptors make a huge run with Javon Carter. You got to give him some kudos for that. But the problem is, when you insert DeMar DeRozan, it all goes back to the common denominator. The big three stinks. So that's just how I'm looking at it. And I'm right. I feel you 100% is that Billy Donovan has lost his team. They don't respect him. And I think the respect doesn't spread too far amongst each other either. So we'll leave it at that. But all right, y'all, now we move into the next voicemail. This next caller is Brandon. Here's your voicemail.
Hey, this is Brandon, representing the West Side. Watching the Bulls this season with all the Zach LaVine drama, all the drama with the team and stuff. It's been really interesting, man, because I understand why he would want to leave with the stagnation, but this has been one of the worst starts to a Zach LaVine season we've seen in a minute. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I guess they are a bit stagnant, but it's also like you also out there. So it feels like, how can you blame us when your shooting splits is lower? Or the last 4 or 5 games felt like you're like, I ain't going to play the first 2.5 quarters. I'm going to take 1 shot, 3 shots a half or something like that. Then decide to just start throwing up threes when we're down a dub, when the defense ain't really playing you, or they took their starters out. You really feel like you just, kind of just going through the motions. And when it comes to a blow-up, I really don't feel like the Bulls are going to blow it up at all. So the best trade package, in my opinion, would probably be to really run the Billy Donovan offense. I mean, if we're going to run with Billy, the best way to run that is, keep what we got, trade Zach for a couple of shooters. Sacramento got a few shooters over there they could part with. Trade out Zach for, Kevin Huerter, maybe Harrison Barnes, maybe a couple of draft picks, so that we can really get our offense a little more current, so that we can get to really shooting 45, 53 a game and staying, keeping up with these other teams if we're not going to blow it up and actually try to run toward a playoff berth. I think that'd probably be the best way. And probably the best way to keep DeMar and get him to sign on if we reinvest in keeping the offense good, keeping the spacing good so he can do what he do. Let me know what y'all think.
All right. Thanks, Brandon, for calling in. I appreciate that. And great take. But I want to look at Zach LaVine first to kick things off. When I think that Zach, I'm with you 100%, and I never, well, not 100% on the fact that Zach LaVine, out of the last few games, he took his foot off the gas and pretty much came in and inserted himself in the game when basically he felt like, oh, it's the second half of the third quarter, let's go. Oh, it's the fourth quarter. All right, now it's time for me to go and show what I could do. I don't really agree with that. I don't like that, but I agree with you when you said, hey, that's something that he's been doing. But the point, I want to bring up this just to kind of provide some context amongst all of that stuff. Zach LaVine, when he dropped 51 points, nobody else joined the party. The Chicago Bulls lost. When they just went against the Toronto Raptors, I believe he had 30 plus. Nobody else really showed up to the party. And when I mean nobody, I mean the big three. Nikola Vucevic had 9 points, bro. 9 points. I believe DeMar did score in had double-digit points, but it wasn't to the standard of what we've been seeing DeMar DeRozan do alongside Zach LaVine. There were many, many nights last year and the year prior to where both of these guys were very, very capable of scoring over 20 points. It's either one of them scoring over 20 and the other one's not, or neither one. Like, it's crazy. So the point is that though we can put some on Zach, I still think that the wrong guy might be leaving Chicago. Everybody's talking about Zach LaVine leaving Chicago, but I feel like that should be DeMar DeRozan. And I'm a really take my time because I want to get to the last caller, but I'm gonna really take my time and break this all down too for you, Brandon. So be on the lookout for the video on that. I'm gonna really break this down, provide you with everything that I see, give you everything, and I hope this was a good answer to your question and stuff like that. Because I think the wrong guy is actually gonna be moved out of Chicago. That's just me. But I'll break that down because I don't want to hold time. Appreciate you again, Brandon. But hey, this last caller is from my guy from Chicago Bulls Block. Big O, here's your voicemail, my guy.
What's the word? Kayak boy, C-Dub and Bobby, what's good with y'all? Happy holidays to you and y'all's, man. Man, hey, you said what grade PJ Rose in? Y'all funny as hell. Hey, but Bobby, I'm with you, man, with your other video you dropped, man. As far as who the most to blame, it has to be the front office. I mean, if you want to smear the ownership in that too, you can put them all, group them all together. You know what I'm saying? But as we know, Billy has his problems. We have our issues with Billy. We have our issues with the roster and the way certain players play or that's on the roster. But like you said, the ones that put this together is the front office. The ones that's in charge of moving things around, making trades, making things happen, is the front office. You know what I mean? If you motherfucking you know what I'm saying, DJ Khaled, you know, or one of DJ Drummer, one of them guys, you making an album and you got 16, 17 songs on there, but you got a bad mix of artists, or you got some terrible artists on there, but that makes your album trash. So I can't be mad at Soulja Boy or, you know what I'm saying, any one of the other guys that might be on your album, because they who they is. That's the artist they is. I gotta look at you and say, man, you put a trash ass album together, bro. That shit was trash. Like, so at the end of the day, it's always the person who's putting it together. And, you know, they also was in charge of moving off pieces. You know what I mean? They had an opportunity to go get a Drew Holiday. You had an opportunity to go get a Malcolm Brogdon. You had an opportunity to, you know, get a Damian Lillard. Now, maybe those things couldn't happen. I mean, just looking at the value of the roster and the pieces that they had. Or maybe it could have, but we don't know. Maybe Patrick Williams probably would have got the deal done to get a Damian Lillard or to get a Drew Holiday. You know, that's just all, you know, assumption. But the fact that you didn't do it, I still got to put that, you know, I got to show you that. Like, bro, you didn't get that done. You know what I'm saying? So meanwhile, teams that already was better enough got stronger, and you stayed back. You know what I'm saying? It's always from the front office when it comes to that. But I mean, as far as Zach LaVine, I'm wishing bro nothing but the best, and I hope he'll get to a team that he'll have a chance to win because he deserved that. Zach deserved that. Zach been on a losing team for a very long time. That man deserved to have a chance to win. Okay. You don't want to go down to Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley had a damn good career, by the way. But, hey, man, you know, same thing for Jamal, man. Caruso.
All right, man. Big O with her, man. He always come with the great stuff. You feel me? But I'm looking at, you said that it's like when you put an album together, a 16, 17 song album together, and then you just gotta, you know, and all the artists didn't come together correctly to make something beautiful or what we expect to be a top tier album, right? It's kind of like when certain artists that you like, now I say Chris Brown, he drop an album, that mug got 30 songs on there, my boy. I'm supposed to listen to 30 songs? I ain't got the time, bro. I got kids. I do a podcast. You feel me? But I definitely appreciate that analogy because this team, it's like that layered cake that's beautiful. But then when they sit it on the table after they done decorated and stuff and all of it just cave in. That's the Chicago Bulls, bro. That's the Chicago Bulls. And I'm not saying it's like the most immaculate cake, but when you look at it on paper, you be like, damn, this is a pretty good cake. But then when you watch them play, the cake just cave in because it's not a good foundation. The bottom is not strong enough to build up to the top. That front office and that ownership is supposed to provide that foundation for the coach, for the players, so you can build this beautiful layered cake. And it's just caved in. It just caved in for them. But and I agree with you on your last point with Zach LaVine. Look, I don't know if it's come out, but I believe Zach LaVine went to them and said, hey, it's either Billy in this roster or me. Pick one. We need to pick a direction. I'm tired of this shit. We are tired of this shit. And that's just what it really comes down to. We as Chicago Bulls fans are tired. We as Chicago sports fans are tired. Cubs stink, Sox stinks, Blackhawks stinks, Bears stink, Bulls stink, Chicago Fire stinks. Only thing we had something good about is Chicago Sky a little bit for a few years back winning the championship, but we want to see the other teams around the city compete as well. You look at other sports towns around and they got teams that are built correctly to provide the whole entire city an abundance of happiness amongst all their teams, bro. We deserve that. As hard as we go for the brands in Chicago. Man. I go on forever, Big O. You almost had me get started there. But that's it for me, man. I'm done. I'm gonna go ahead and clock out and end it right there. I hope y'all enjoyed today's show. Make sure you go ahead and comment below. Let me know your thoughts on everything that we discussed, and go ahead and even drop something on how you feeling. Even talk about the game tonight. We'll be there, unfortunately, but that's what it is. Thank you for tuning in. Go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell as well. If you want to call in and be a part of an episode like this here, call in 773-242-9336. This is another episode of Shy Boys Podcast. I'm Bobby. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure.